All right, brother. Thanks so much for coming on, taking the time to do this podcast. Appreciate it. Definitely appreciate Michael for connecting us from Yanks Abroad. If you could just, introduce yourself, where you're originally from, where you're currently playing, and your position, and we'll just get into your journey.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Eduvie Ikoba. I'm 23 years old. I was born in Iowa and moved to Alabama in my high school years. I played for 4 years at Dartmouth as a striker and then went to Europe this summer after my graduation. So I've been playing now, or now I'm in Slovakia for playing for IS Trenčín in the first division. And I've been here in Europe for starting my third season now.
Nice, bro. Nice. So, how about your youth football? How was the youth football set up? And did you play in Iowa? Your youth football?
Yeah, it was a really unconventional path to playing professional because I played for my hometown club in Iowa for probably 13 or 14 years, and
Mm-hmm.
it was I don't think anyone would know them. They're not like a recognized academy. We didn't really play anything other than the state leagues, but when I moved to Alabama, I played also for a local team there, and we played in the state tournaments and then regional one year when we won. But for the most part, there was nothing special. Just three practices a week, or uh, I guess not really like the academy system. Just
Yeah,
pretty normal where everyone goes when they
yeah,
want to play in the
for
area.
sure. No, that's why. I mean, honestly, that's why I have this podcast and why I have guys like you on, because I think a lot of younger kids, they see, Instagram nowadays, and they think it's a straight path. And just like you said, I think everyone that I've had on this podcast, it's an unconventional path. And listening to the stories of you guys and girls is just incredible. And for me, it's just I want to help inspire the youth and let them know, as we will dive into your journey, but just show people that if you really want it as bad as you say you do and you put in the work behind those words with action, I think you can achieve, what things that you want to achieve in terms of playing professional and whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I agree completely.
So how did kind of so from Alabama, how'd you get recruited by Dartmouth?
So it was actually we won the state championship my junior year of high school, and
Mm-hmm.
we went to the regional tournament that they had. And I was lucky enough to play well in this tournament. I scored, I think, two or three goals in the three matches we played.
Nice.
Also, I have an interesting frame for a striker. I'm really tall, also very strong and fast. So I think it caught a lot of attention or
Mm-hmm.
caught the attention of a lot of scouts. And so they sent me an email. They said, "Yeah, we're interested in you. We'd like to sign you, or we'd like you to commit to Dartmouth so you can come to the
Mm-hmm.
camp and visit." And I chose them because they had the best academic and academic possibility along with the
For
possibility
sure.
to play professionally. So yeah, it was tough for me to make that decision because there were schools that were closer or schools that might have
Mm,
offered more in terms of competitiveness in the NCAA, but
mm.
I feel like it was the best decision for me, and I feel like I grew the most being there than I could have anywhere else.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. What other schools were interested in you?
I think the main ones were Virginia, also UAB, which is the
Mm,
Alabama Birmingham. There were a lot that came and went. Colgate. Um, wow, it's a long time ago, so it's hard for me to remember
yeah.
everything. But
So you must have
those
been pretty
three,
good in academics, man. All those schools are
yeah,
are top academic schools.
yeah. My parents really pushed me to focus on academics because they
That's
came from
awesome.
Nigeria, so it was like they would not allow me to play soccer if I didn't keep my grades at a really high level. So I was glad
Mm,
that they did this actually, because if not,
for
maybe
sure.
I would not have had the motivation in school that I had, but it helped so much.
Yeah. That plus, do you think the discipline that you had with football kind of helped with the discipline with academics?
Yeah, I think the two went hand in hand because,
For sure.
like you said, when you have a passion for something, you know that the only way to achieve it is through keeping up the academics. I knew I wasn't going to go pro immediately from high school or something. I don't think I
Mm-hmm.
had the means, and I probably wouldn't have been ready. But focusing
Mm,
on the academic component made me for sure a more rounded human being, and just I was able to focus on things, prioritize things, and I still carry that now, even in the professional game.
For sure, man. For sure. So, what age did you start playing?
I think I started playing when I was 4 or 5. I was really
Hmm.
young, and it was just for like a YMCA local
Yeah,
local kick around for kids. But I always
yeah,
enjoyed playing, and I would
for
always play
sure.
with my siblings as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what it all
it's been a
stems
long
down to,
time.
that love of the game, that love of the
Yeah,
game. And I think, I get a lot of messages and I see a lot of kids who they're looking for their why and their motivation. And I think all that stems down to the love of the game. And a lot of questions about, when I get on the pitch, I feel nervous or I put a lot of pressure on myself. And I always try to go back to that kid like experience, why you started playing the game. Just like you said, you started playing the YMCA, playing with your siblings and friends and enjoying it. And I think it all stems down to that. Once you start to lose the love, you start to say, what's the point? So I think you always got to stem back to that.
yeah, exactly. And for me also, like I saw my first World Cup games or in 2006, and it was probably the first time I'd ever seen soccer on TV. And since then, that was what drove me. I was like, wow, this is really cool. These guys are representing their
For
countries.
sure.
So since
For
then,
sure.
I was always doing stuff outside, even in my backyard, just for fun. And I'm really glad that I had that passion and still have it, because I don't think it's possible to get to such a high level without having a real drive and a real purpose behind
100%.
everything.
100%. So when did you really feel that urge and that ambition to play pro?
I think it was at like watching those World Cup games, or maybe I saw some games before. I can't really remember, but it was very young, like maybe 6 or 7. And
Hmm.
I think I specifically remember watching Cristiano Ronaldo play in the 2006 World Cup, and as
Yeah,
soon as I
yeah,
saw it, I'd go outside and try to do step overs in my
yeah.
in my front yard and do
Uh-huh.
other cool tricks. And after that, just watched a lot of YouTube videos when I could, watch games when I could, and yeah, I was lucky because for me it was a way to have fun. Like it was not something that I saw as a tough responsibility or a
Of
big
course.
challenge. I was just enjoying
Hmm.
myself.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So you said when you were training with your club, who eventually helped you get seen, what were you training 3 times per week with the club? You said.
Yeah, I think it was not really like academy, because I think typically they have trainings every day or maybe sometimes twice a day. But for
Hmm.
me, just like in the evenings around 7 o'clock, we'd have trainings on like Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and I was really motivated, so I would do stuff on my own. But that was a good opportunity for me to train with teammates and work on things that I couldn't do on my own.
For
So
sure.
yeah, it
What
was
type of things were
nothing.
you doing on your own?
On my own, since I'm a striker, I was always shooting, always dribbling, juggling. I looked up these videos that worked on fundamentals, so I would work on controlling the ball out of the
Hmm.
air,
Hmm.
or trying to make sure my first touch is good off like a wall or something when I had something available.
For
But
sure.
um, yeah, it was tough. I'm not gonna lie, because
Yeah.
it's not like I have had someone to really play me long balls, or my siblings tried every once in a while, but it was also probably a burden for them at some point, because
Yeah.
they didn't really have the same they didn't really have the same drive as me
Yeah.
always. So yeah, it
No,
was
you
just whatever I
gotta
saw.
befriend the wall. You gotta really
Yeah,
befriend the wall. There's and sometimes it gets boring. I mean, you just pass the ball on the wall, but once you embrace that boredom and you start enjoying being able to strike the ball, taking certain touches, and then I think like once that starts to transition of the game and you start to see your individual training, like you said, those basics transition into the games, you find it rewarding.
yeah, of course. It was for me the best feeling was seeing the stuff I'm doing in training and being able to recreate it in the game, or even practice,
Exactly.
because then I knew there was some
Exactly.
progress that was happening. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you went, I mean, Dartmouth's a pretty, well known and professional program. So when you went over to Dartmouth, how good did it feel like being in that environment, and that was probably helped you transition into professional?
Well, honestly, because I didn't really have such a high background with football, it was a step up for sure. I remember even when I was getting recruited, I watched one of the games as a 16-year-old and I was thinking, wow, this is already above the level I've played at. It's going to be
Hmm.
hard for me. And
Hmm.
my freshman year, it was actually a step up still. So I was always trying to improve, always trying to learn, staying extra when I
Awesome.
could. But I think it helped a lot because um, being pushed in that way was something different than what I was used to, and it forced me
Of course.
to work on the little details that
Mm,
make it that make you enable you to play at the professional level.
of course, of course. Yeah, no, I mean, being put in that environment where, like you said, you feel uncomfortable. Like you said, you can either there's two options. You can either say, "Oh, this is above my level," and you don't put in the extra work, and you either stay at that level, you drop, or you use it as a motivation. You say, I want to become better than these guys. I want to be a starter. I want to be one of the best players on the team, and you know, shows that you what type of stuff were you doing extra to try to advance yourself.
It was always really the same stuff I had done as a kid. Just, what I'd
Mm,
like to do is I would set three cones at different places outside the 18. I would dribble to the cone, do a move, and then try to finish quickly. Or
love
sometimes
it.
I would practice like playing a ball in the air, controlling it, turning, and then finishing. So they were really specific to my position, but I think that even having the extra touches and the extra practice gave me confidence to do things in the game that really helped
100%.
me promote myself. So yeah, it was
Hmm.
good. It was really good for me. Just
Absolutely. I
trying to finish
like,
as much as possible.
yeah,
Sorry,
it's
go
just like,
ahead.
no worries, man. It's just like, I think nowadays we want these sexy and these fancy drills, but the more people I talk to, what I've always preached is mastering the basics. Like you said
Yeah,
right there, as a kid, you were mastering the basics, taking the ball out of the air, using a wall, literally dribbling up to a cone, 1v1, shoot. And those consistent reps over time, I think just really add up. And I think some people just want to, look for a formula, but I think the biggest thing is doing things, the basics that are specific to your position and trying to be consistent with it.
yeah. And actually, now that I think about it, another thing that really helped me was watching other strikers or watching
Mm,
strikers that had the same build as myself and the same type
yes.
of positioning as myself. Since I'm a target striker, I was always watching like Lukaku or
Hmm.
Ibrahimovic,
Hmm.
and seeing what they do during the games, how they position
Yes.
themselves, how they move. Because once I was able to get a better understanding of that, it made it much easier for me because you can do a lot of individual stuff, but if you don't really understand where you're supposed to be and the movements you're supposed to make, it can be hard to
100%.
ever get in those positions. So yeah,
Oh,
it was a
100%,
little
man.
of
Well said.
everything really. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So are those two guys you really try to emulate your game after?
Yeah, and I think it's always changed because growing up, I wasn't thinking this way. I just wanted to watch the
Mm,
best players, Ronaldinho,
exactly.
Ronaldo, Messi, and all those guys. But as I got older, a lot of coaches would tell me, okay, you're not Messi, so you cannot play like him. You have to do things that are different. And it was a little
Mm,
frustrating to me at first, but it is the truth and it's beneficial to me
sure.
because having those skills from a young age and the confidence is really good. But then when you focus on what your job is, it makes it much
Hmm.
easier to be successful. And yeah, my goal is not to make the most dribbles in a game, it's to score. But I know that I have the
100%.
ability to do that. So yeah, it was really beneficial for me. And that's also a big change from playing in high school or club
Hmm.
versus
Hmm.
playing in college and then also playing in pro. I think it's
For
just
sure.
gotten more and more specific for me. But
100%.
it's yeah. But the big thing is that I've always had the passion for it. It's not like I feel like, oh, this is a huge burden or oh, I don't want to
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
this. Just
Love it.
understanding who I am as a player.
100%. So how was your journey through Dartmouth? Did you play 4 years there?
Yeah, my I was lucky because I was a starter for most of the time there, and it was tough at some points because I had some injuries. My sophomore year, I pulled my hamstring and was
Mm,
playing with it throughout the season, and it really hindered my performances. But um, I tried to just do as best as I could with it. Junior year, also similar things with ankles, and then senior year, I had I think two or three hamstring injuries again. So
Mm,
it was tough for me, honestly, but it also made me realize how important it is to take care of my body. And
for sure.
now that I'm at the professional level, it's like I've already been through those tough experiences, and I have to make sure to do everything to give 100% on the pitch. So it
100%.
helped in that sense, yeah.
No, yeah, like you said, I mean, once you get to the professional level, all those little details are huge and it's hard to play with injuries. Like, so I think like you said, do right now, do you do any extra prehab and to supplement?
I'm sorry, the connection was a little bit poor. I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, so I was just saying, like, now at the professional level, it's obviously it's hard to play with an injury and not be at 100%. So I'm sure, are you doing any extra prehab, rehab, gym work in addition to your team training?
Yeah, I focused a lot more on that, especially when I started playing professionally. Before trainings and matches, usually I try to foam roll and do
Love it.
stretches. Also, I think since we're in a more professional environment, the team naturally puts more emphasis on preparation. So I don't think we
For
ever
sure.
start a training without 15 minutes of warming up and
Love it.
doing little agility stuff. And then off the pitch, I try to do core work and hamstring exercises, especially in the off season, also for lower body,
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure that my muscles are like they're balanced and that it makes it easier to stay fit because I'm making sure that every muscle is in the right it's at the right level physically so
Of
that
course.
I don't overstrain or overwork it
Mm-hmm.
somehow. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's been
Absolutely.
helpful for me.
So where'd you end? So after Dartmouth, what was your decision? Why did you want to go to Europe? Did you have an offer? Did an agent want to bring you, or how did that opportunity come about?
So yeah, my senior year, I didn't play too much because of the injuries I had. I only had like six or
Mm,
seven games, but I did really well. I scored probably five or six goals in those few games, and
wow.
I was invited to the MLS Combine. So I was
Mm,
preparing for that, and unfortunately, I injured my hamstring for a third time after the season ended
mm,
and before the Combine. So I went and I did all right, but definitely was struggling with that because I hadn't recovered yet.
for
I
sure.
was lucky. Yeah, I was lucky enough to get drafted by FC Dallas, and I went to preseason with them. But
Mm,
after a couple weeks, and with the injury too, not being able to train for a week of their preseason, they decided not to sign me. So I said,
mm-hmm,
okay, it's no problem. I'll finish my last semester at Dartmouth or last term at Dartmouth, and then my girlfriend at the time was playing basketball in Hungary. So I was
mm.
lucky enough because I she had a connection through one of her club's sporting directors, and they were like,
That's
"Yeah,
awesome.
well, we know you're a good player. We've seen you a couple of times too, and seen some of your highlight videos, so you can come for trial." And I went,
Nice.
and luckily I did well. And I thought it was better for me because I didn't really want to stay in the U.S. I wanted to challenge, and also I wanted to be closer to my girlfriend at the time. So it
Mm-hmm,
it worked really well for me in that sense.
for sure, bro. Yeah, you never know who could help you, what type of connections you could have.
Yeah, it's very
You got to use what you
unfortunate.
got.
Yeah.
So,
Unconventional, but
how would you kind of um, describe the difference or the similarity between FC Dallas and where you were at in Hungary?
I think that obviously the MLS is a really well. I think it's more and more respected in the world now, especially as
Of
a lot
course.
of young players are going to Europe, and the U.S. is having a lot of success with the national team. So I think the facilities were nicer. There's more money in the club as well, so everything just looks bigger. It looks
Hmm.
more professional. They have more to offer with their facilities. And in
Yeah,
Hungary also it's actually very good. I was surprised at the level of each of the facilities, but there's still a huge difference, I'd say, just
for
because
sure.
of I think the market value of FC Dallas is maybe like 20 million, and there's
Mm,
maybe one or two clubs in Hungary that are at the same level. So
mm.
it's the clubs still do their best, but maybe in that sense, it's not up to the level of the average MLS team yet.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. And like when I first came over to Europe, I could attest to the same thing. Like, you come over to Europe and, you know, you see you see the facilities and they don't look nearly as good. But honestly, when you get on the pitch, the level is proper, especially the game
Yeah.
intelligence. I'm sure you see the same exact thing. But something that I always saw with a lot of American players, especially coming from college, is I saw a couple guys come over and they would, we would talk obviously because, foreigners talk to each other, especially Americans. And they were like, what's up with these facilities? It's crap compared to
Yeah.
where they were at in college, Stanford, these places. And yeah, I always just said, like, that's just how it is, of course. And it's not as big as the US. Um, and then I was, we would get out to the pitch and they would be some of the worst players on the pitch. So it's like, it's not all about that, honestly. It's like it's
Yeah.
like the game intelligence in Europe. I mean, I'm sure it's grown in the US, but I'm sure you see the same thing. Like the game intelligence is just a different level.
Yeah, actually, that's something I forgot to mention from the last question. That for sure that was probably the biggest difference for me, from being in FC Dallas versus being in Europe, because in the trainings, everyone is extremely technical, they're well organized, and I really had
Yes.
to adapt to that because I had skills and I knew that I was good at my position, but
Mm,
without understanding where to move and where to be, it doesn't really work
exactly.
because all the defenses are very organized and it's
Exactly.
much harder to break them down or to find space here than it is in the
Exactly.
US. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying. And it was a wake up call for me too, because sometimes you
Yeah.
see the facilities and you think, okay, maybe guys are not that good because
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a really professional club or something,
Yeah.
but it's not the case at all. And I will never, I will never underestimate any opponent or any league because
That's
coming from the
fact.
US, I would not have expected Hungary to be such a top league, but every player is good. I don't think there's
Yeah.
anyone who's not capable of playing at a high level.
Yeah. No, that's
So,
well said, man. And same for me. Like I would go in and you would see the facilities and you'd be like, God, no, it can't be that good. And then you get on the pitch and
yeah,
it's like, wow, it's a wake up call. And even like
yeah,
in Germany, when I went, I would play like some pickup in the park on off days. I don't know if they have this in Hungary. I've never been there. I definitely need to visit, but or Slovakia. I'm sure they do. Like these little pitches, like in the U.S. we would have basketball courts, but they have the small sided football courts.
yeah, yeah,
And I would go like in Germany, just play with a couple of my friends, and I would go and there was like a couple guys who were, out of shape, not as fit as American players, and you'd be like, we'll kill them. And they get on the ball, and it's like, wow, these kids are just lighting it up, and
yeah,
it's even in those small sided games, you just see the tactical advantage they have and the game intelligence, and yeah, it's well said, man. I think that the tactics and the coaches in Europe are just a different level. And I think the U.S. More coaches from Europe are coming over, so it's obviously better for Americans. But it's really interesting to see that.
yeah. It's the same happened to me actually. I think in Budapest in the summer, I was with a couple friends just playing for fun, and we came across like four or five, probably 40 to 50-year-old guys.
Yeah,
A lot of them had beer guts and they
yeah,
definitely were not
yeah,
professional or taking it seriously, but we said, okay, let's just play with them for fun. And
yeah,
they were actually really good. They positioned
yeah,
themselves
yeah,
well.
yeah,
And
yeah.
at the end,
Exactly.
at the end we got the win, but we struggled for it. And
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
I'll
they have
never.
good strategy, man. They smoke their
Yeah,
cigarette before the game. They talk over their tactics, their formation, and then they get after it, man.
yeah. So I respect every opponent now.
For sure, bro, for sure. So, how many seasons did you spend in Hungary?
I spent one season there, just one, and then
Uh-huh.
this team from Trenton came and they said, okay, we're interested in you. We'd like to sign you. They have a
Hmm.
history of developing young players and then moving them to really big clubs. So I said,
Awesome.
okay, it's the best fit for me right now because
Mm,
I was also aware that I got a lot of interest from bigger clubs, but I knew that
mm,
I need time to really develop and
like it.
get familiar with the European game. So that's what I've been doing now, just trying to improve. And then hopefully soon I'll be able to make a transfer to an even larger club and
It's awesome.
continue to progress with my career.
Uh-huh. Did you play with Eric McWoods at that club in Hungary?
Yeah, we played for
Ah,
six
okay,
months because
solid.
yeah, he came from the I think Malta or not Malta from Estonia. And so
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was nice. Yeah, it was nice having
that's
another
awesome.
American in my team because, like you said, sometimes, or you have maybe didn't say it, but the language barrier can be really tough,
Oh yeah.
especially when you're the only American or one of the few people that speaks English
Mm,
fluently. So, yeah, when he
mm,
came, it helped a lot. And yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I still keep in touch with him all the time, and we talk about a lot of
yeah,
the stuff that we're talking about now too. So,
for sure.
yeah, it really
No,
helped
that's
positively.
something to touch on also that I think is not that I like to touch on the podcast is like when you first go over to Europe and even on this journey, man, like it's a lonely journey, like especially at the professional level when guys are competing to put on the table for their families. Sometimes guys aren't the most friendly and it's tough to adapt. So like you said, finding, guys like Eric and other guys who have similar cultures to you, I think are huge because, I think the biggest thing is that mental and emotional aspect of playing overseas, which you don't usually like in college. It's easier because like you said, you're used to the culture, you're used to the language, and like you said, I think Europe has, oh, it's tons of pros, the in terms of, just getting out of your comfort zone and learning the tactics. But the hard part is that mental side. Um, so how do you deal with that, or how did you deal with that and with the transition?
Yeah, that's definitely been the hardest part of everything. Just trying to stay focused, trying to stay committed, and yeah, like you mentioned everything I was thinking as well. Just when you go to a new club and you know that you're competing with other players, it can be tough because it's not like university where you're friends with the guys off the pitch and you're always
Exactly.
spending time together and going for lunches. But I think something I've been doing is just trying to find friends and trying to, like you said, get out of my comfort zone, trying to make have conversations with people. And it's not easy sometimes with the language barrier, but when you have it, I think it's really beneficial because it's it's really tough being in a club so far from home all on your own and
Exactly.
having different friends and just getting outside and getting to meet other people is, for me, it's helped so much because I
Hmm.
think I would go crazy with my thoughts if I was always in my
Yeah.
apartment just thinking about trainings or games, and
Yep.
it's a big relief for me. It's a really big relief.
100%, dude. No, that's well said. I mean, you know, uh, whether if you could have bad trainings, bad games, and yeah, you could FaceTime friends and family, but there's nothing like, having face to face conversations. So like you said,
Yeah,
I think that's huge and trying to get yourself out there. Um, it was always the same thing for me. Like, even if the person didn't speak the same language, you feel the vibe, you feel the energy, and, football language is football language.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's I was also gonna say that it makes it easy when you have someone who you can relate with and you can like just talk about what's going on with, because sometimes, for example, I've had teammates that maybe their English is not so great, or we come from really different backgrounds, but we all have the same issues as professional athletes, and it's
Exactly.
nice having someone else to share that with, just talk with, to support. And I
Hmm.
try to do it for my teammates as well whenever I
Mm,
notice that maybe they're struggling or something, and I'm
love it.
thankful there have been people that help me with that too.
Yeah. No, that's well said, man. That's well said. And um, yeah, like you said, just being able to have someone to relate to that's been in your shoes, that's had similar failures, similar successes, and then being able to learn from their successes, learn from their failures is huge. I mean, I think that just being able to pass down that knowledge to younger guys or even older guys is awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But could you run us through like a, day in the life, what time you wake up, a little bit about your nutrition, what you eat for breakfast, when you train, just like a, typical day in the life, to hear your, behind the scenes, what you get after.
Yeah, so I usually wake up around 7:30 or 7:45. I leave for practice, or I leave to breakfast. We have breakfast with the club at like 7:50. We eat from like 8:15 to 9, and then training starts at 9:45. So um We have like 45 minutes to do preparation. Sometimes if we need tape or we need special treatment or something from the
Hmm.
physios, we're able to get it. Then we have training usually in the morning. I'd say half the days of the week or a couple days of the week, it's two trainings, but most I'd
Mm.
say is just one. So yeah, we'll have a normal training for like 2 hours. Occasionally, and also like if the coaches allow it, I'll do individual training just specific to my
Hmm.
position, and then
Mm.
after we're required to stay 45 minutes for recovery, like ice, regeneration, and
That's awesome.
other important stuff, foam rolling, stretching, and some people go to the gym as well. Then if it's one training, I go back at this point, I eat lunch. Honestly, some most days I just take a nap or I'll relax and watch TV or something.
Hmm.
Then in the evening, I try to go out for dinner or try to do something just now that the weather's warm, especially and the quarantine period is over. It's nice to just walk around or
Hmm.
to, find
For
something
sure.
to take my mind off of football for a while and then,
Yes.
yeah, come back and then I usually just relax and try to go to bed early so I can be ready for the next day.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's
No, that's well said, man, because um, you know, I think, being where you're at, obviously you love the game and you're obsessed with the game, but I think it's important, like you said, to get your mind off sometimes. Um, you know, Obviously we want to be 24/7. We want to be turned on and obsessed with the game, but being able to switch off just allows you to come back fresher and you don't get burned out. Are there any hobbies that you have just to turn yourself off of the game and do other things?
Well, yeah, I'm also lucky because I'm living with my girlfriend here in Slovakia too, so we
Awesome.
just sometimes go for lunch in the city or if it's like if we have like a weekend, for example, we can go to like Bratislava, the capital city,
For
or
sure.
try to take a trip somewhere else. And it's nice just to be outside, enjoy the warm
Of course.
weather. I also like this summer I've started sometimes going to lakes as well, which is really nice, and
Yes.
it's also
Awesome.
really relaxing for me too. So yeah, it's good for me. I'm really happy with that. But
That's
even when
awesome.
that's not available, something as simple as watching Netflix or just going to a dinner or doing bowling or mini golf or something is enough for me to
Exactly.
just, completely de-stress and take myself
Exactly.
out so that when I come back, I'm ready to get 100% again.
Exactly. No, I hear the nature in Slovakia is beautiful.
Yeah. It's one thing that I'm actually sad that I haven't got to experience a lot of, but yeah, every time we go on the highway, we see I call them
Uh-huh.
mountains. I'm not sure if they're mountains for other people, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Iowa's very flat. Alabama doesn't really have hills like
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, it's beautiful for me though. And it makes me kind of thankful sometimes that I'm able to leave and see what is outside in the world because I think without
100%.
soccer, I would never have had this opportunity.
No, of course, man. That's well said. How are the people out there? Are they friendly?
Yeah, everyone is friendly to me. I think also it's nice because in Slovakia more people speak English than it was in Hungary. In
Mm, that's
Hungary, it
interesting.
was yeah, in Hungary it was always a struggle because I would go to the stores and I
Yeah.
did not really know enough Hungarian to hold a real conversation, but I
Yeah.
would just say a few words and hope that they understand enough or just point
Uh-huh.
at things a lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's much better now, and I don't interact too much with random Slovakian people because I'm usually at training or just in my
Hmm.
apartment or doing something. But when I do, yeah, I haven't had any problems yet, so I'm
That's
really
awesome.
thankful for that. Yeah,
No, I mean, you can hear that, you know, gratitude and happiness plays a huge part in your journey, man. And I think that's something to really take away from this conversation for people listening, the youngsters. And I think when you find those little things, those little details, it really makes the journey that much better, that much easier, that much more fun. And just like you said, I think football, besides we love it and we enjoy it, it really just teaches us about life. We get to learn new cultures, like you said, see new places, meet new people, and it just makes us, worldlier and better people as a result. We don't stay in the bubble in the US. You get to see other cultures, how they act, how they react to certain things, and I think it just makes you a better person.
yeah. I actually think exactly the same. And although sometimes things are hard, I feel like at the end of my journey as a soccer player, I'll look back and say, wow, I was really lucky to experience all this,
100%.
especially in my young age. So I try to always keep a positive mindset about everything and just look at things from a positive side, from a bright side, because
Love
it's
that.
a lot of people don't get this chance. Like you said, everyone's
Mhm.
competing,
Mhm.
and when you
Mm.
do get the opportunity, I feel if you're not thankful, it's difficult to ever really reach your full potential because
Mm.
you're always held down by something negative in the back of your mind. So
Exactly.
yeah, I fight it a lot and I look at the good things.
No, that man, that mindset is a gift, I think, being able to always see the good. Is there did you have that at a young age or did you develop that?
I
Just
think that yeah, I think that for me personally, it wasn't something I always had. Something that's significant about me is the fact that I'm Christian. So I try to say to myself always that everything happens for a
mm,
reason, for a positive reason,
yes,
and I really believe this.
yes,
And also, it helps in that sense. And I've had to work on it just because there have been times where I was at a place where it's like, this is not where I want to be. I want to be at a higher level. I
exactly,
want to be doing this or that.
exactly.
But when you take a step back and look at everything, you can see sometimes that the struggles you go through make you stronger or they prepare you for what's coming next. So
Love it.
for me, that's how I look
That's
at things now. Like if I spend my whole time in Hungary or Slovakia really negative and complaining, then I won't take the most out of it. But if I see it as a
mhm,
place where I can grow, then if I move to a higher level, I'll be prepared for it and I'll have gone through some of those struggles that you can't really teach through books or through talking sometimes. So yeah, I think without this mindset, it would be very difficult for any player coming from the US to have success or really any
exactly.
foreign country. So
Yeah,
yeah, it helps a lot for me and I'm thankful that I have this now.
mhm,
It's still a
for
work in
sure.
progress as well, but yeah, every day and whenever I have the chance, I try to just look at the big perspective and it's good for me.
Love it, bro. That's so well said, man, because I think, as humans, it's proven that we think more negative thoughts and we're prone to have negative thoughts, but really focusing on the positive thoughts and focusing on what you do have, not what you don't have, and being grateful for the little things, like you said, and learning. I think, like you said, like, man, life is a teacher, every single
Yeah.
day, we learn from our experiences, whether they're positive or negative. And I think being able to have a positive perspective and a proper perspective by reframing things really changes, how you take each day.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, like you said, I think part of it, what I really notice in a lot of, my friends, a lot of guys and girls I have on the podcast who go out to Europe, like you said, there are a lot of there are a lot of lows in the beginning. Um, you go out, you're out of your comfort zone, your friends and family aren't around, you don't speak the same language, and things aren't as easy to do. But then once you kind of get over that stuff, you really, like you said, you take a step back and put yourself in a macro perspective, and you see, how blessed and grateful you are for where you're at and what you're doing, because like you said, not a lot of people have this chance.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And actually, something that I've really been thinking about the past few weeks is just looking back at a lot of players that I've been in that struggle with a year ago. Some of them are now like playing at a higher level where I think, yeah, there's a guy who played in my club maybe 2 years ago, and now he's playing in the Champions League, and things are much different. And I'm sure he's like,
Wow.
wow, things are
Yeah.
moving fast, and I'm really thankful for that. But then there's also players that I played with that were really talented and they had some ankle issues or ACL issues and
Mm,
they're unable to play or unable to find the team. So I think that life just it happens so quickly that if you're negative, you're never going to get the full experience that you were meant to get. Maybe maybe a year from now it'll be completely different in a good way, hopefully. But um, yeah, I don't want to look at that. I just want to look at where I'm at now and how I can grow because then I know I'm here for a purpose, and I know that
yes.
there will be improvement regardless of what happens on the pitch.
For sure, bro. No, and like you said, and I'm sure you've felt also through your injuries, like when you get injured and you're not on the pitch, you just always look back and you're like, man, I just wish I was there. And when
Yeah,
you're healthy and you're playing, you just say, wow, it's just you take each day. That's what I try to do now. Each training, people
yeah,
always ask me, what are your goals? And I always say, I take it one day at a time. I'm just grateful to be training today. Like you said, you never know what can happen. What can
yeah,
happen tomorrow. So you just got to be grateful for each day you have and make the most of it.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's the best mindset to have.
For sure. So what do you notice like the difference in football wise between Hungary and Slovakia?
Hungary has more experienced players. A lot of the guys I played with have played at really high levels, like the Euros, or played for
Wow.
very different national teams, or at high levels like Champions League, Europa League.
Mm,
But
wow.
it's a slower league, I would say, just because the guys
Interesting.
they're a little bit older, and so they don't run as much, but they're definitely smarter, I'd say. And
Mm,
coming to the Slovakian league, I thought, okay, it's going to be easier because there's a lot more space and maybe it's not as
mm,
organized. But I've also realized that in the Slovakian league, everyone is young, everyone's fit, every team, they run a lot, they're very
mm-hmm.
physical. So it was a big shock to me, actually. And I see the benefit of both of them having the intelligence and then also just having that high level of physicality. And now it's a new challenge for me because
Mm,
I'm used to being one of the stronger, faster players, and I still have that advantage, I think, in this league, but I have to really, really fight and have to improve because I'd say in my club, the average age is maybe 22 years old or 21
wow.
years old. And
Wow.
so every player is improving every day. They're always staying to do extra work. In the
Mm,
league, I think it's the same for most of the teams. And yeah, it keeps me motivated because in Hungary, a lot of the guys are relaxed. They don't really stay for extra training.
yeah.
They're I wouldn't say past their prime, but they're comfortable with the level they're at. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and maybe it's a better place for me because I'll get closer to my full potential being here and being forced to work hard every day. I think if I
For
don't,
sure.
then I will not play because there's a lot of hungry guys right next to me who are,
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to get a spot for themselves and trying to move in their careers. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm also
100%,
glad that
man.
I'm here. Yeah.
Who's the best player you've played with or against?
With or against? It's a really tough question for me because I played. Wow, that's tough. The best team I played against was probably Dinamo Zagreb or
Mm.
maybe Ferencvaros. I think Zagreb is not in the Champions League this year, or maybe they are. I'm not sure, but um, Ferencvaros is now, and they had a couple players that they did really well after I left, but I really don't know if there's someone that was
Mm-hmm.
that clearly ahead of everyone. I think that's another thing. The best players usually
Mm.
don't do so much, but you notice their impact whenever they're out of the team.
Yes,
So
love that. That's what. Mm-hmm.
yeah, honestly, I don't have a clear answer to who the best was. I'd say probably someone from Dinamo Zagreb.
Mm.
They had one striker actually who was playing for the Croatian national team, Bruno
Wow.
Petkovic. He was like their top scorer too, and for me, the reason he stood out was because he has like a similar type of profile as me as a striker, like a
Uh-huh.
strong target man, but he was extremely technical, could control the balls
Mm.
out of the air easily, also on the
Mm.
ground, could finish with both feet, strong, fast, and yeah, he's someone that I tried to model my game after when I was watching him, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of good players too that I'm completely forgetting right now.
For sure.
So yeah,
No, I mean playing against Zagreb's got to be unreal, man. Got to be unreal.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
so in terms of nutrition, you follow any specific type of diet, or is there any way that you like to eat? What type of things you usually eat for breakfast, lunch to fuel
yeah,
yourself?
yeah, so the breakfast that they offer at the club is it's pretty much the same every morning, just eggs with ham and cheese, Um, and I eat like yogurt with granola as well, and drink
Mm-hmm.
coffee or something. So it's nothing crazy, but um, when they offer lunch at the club, it's usually like just rice with chicken, which I like because it's good for protein and also the rice gives carbohydrates. And then
Mm-hmm.
for dinner, actually, I because I'm Nigerian as well, I usually go to Budapest when I can, and I buy like a month's supply of Nigerian food from there. So I just stock it in my fridge and eat it every
Yeah.
day, and it's good for me.
Bro,
But
African
when
food's great, man. Wow.
yeah, tell me about it. So it's like that's the one my one guilty pleasure I have. I just have my same dinner every single night already prepared.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if I run out or something, like with COVID happening last year and me not being able to travel, I had to learn to cook my own. It's not quite the same, but other than
How about your
that,
girl,
maybe rice or pasta. I'm sorry?
man? She doesn't cook for you.
Yeah,
How about your girl? She
it's
doesn't cook for
I'm sorry, the connection's kind of bad right now. Could you say that again?
you. Yeah, yeah. I said maybe I said. How about your girlfriend? Does she cook for you?
The reason it's kind of hard now is that she can cook for me, but she's vegan, so
Uh,
it's tough because
bro,
it's
that's not easy.
yeah, I respect vegans. I respect people
Uh,
who choose to go without meat, but I don't think it's for me.
yeah,
I
no
need
chance,
chicken.
man.
I need something. So yeah,
Uh,
she offers her food, but it's normally a
yeah,
no for me. Tofu doesn't really
absolutely.
hit the same way chicken
Nah,
does. So
that stuff doesn't fill you up, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it's okay. I'll figure out a way to teach her how to cook some Nigerian food at some point, and then
yeah,
after that,
exactly. You
everything will
need
be
to.
good. Yeah.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. But yeah, man, it's been a great conversation. Just want to finish off with a couple things I usually ask. If you could go back to yourself at any age, with the wisdom that you have now, what age would you go back to, and what would you tell yourself?
Hmm. I think that I would go back to college because until then, I was really just playing out of my passion for the game. I was driven completely by just having fun. And things got more serious at college, and I would say, okay, you're a good player. You can still enjoy the game, but start to focus on the mental things now, like showing up early,
Love it.
eating right, staying to do extra stuff. Because I think sometimes, or I think at that point in my career, I just didn't realize how much of an impact those things could have had. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if I had the same mental discipline then as I have now, then I would progress in my career much faster than I have now
Mm-hmm.
because everything is hitting me and I'm learning as I go. But if you know already from the beginning that you should wake up early and stretch or eat the right foods and train with the like clear focus on improving, then it will be
Yes.
much more, you'll grow much more than if you're just going to practice or eating to eat, you know. I would want to do
Exactly.
everything with a purpose, with some
Love
intention,
that.
and
Love that.
the little details really do count. I did
I
not
was just
really
gonna say that. I
understand it,
was
but
just gonna say that,
yeah,
man. Those little details are everything, man. Because as you know, at the professional level, that small margin is really everything.
yeah, exactly. So it's, I think that I've had enough experience with that now where it's not a problem anymore and I'm able to continue in the way I have and I will
Hmm.
improve for sure and I see improvement already, but it's better to start as early as possible with these things because then you
For
reach
sure.
your full potential faster and you can play at a higher level for longer since a
Mm,
soccer career is so short usually and
hmm.
it's never even guaranteed. So,
For sure.
yeah.
No, and like you said, I think going at every training, and whether it's a football session, whether it's a gym session or even a stretching session, going at it with max intent to improve yourself and get yourself better is so key. That
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah, exactly. I remember in high school or like with my club's trainings and even in college we would do passing drills and all the players would say like why are we doing this every day, this is so meaningless. We do the same thing at the pro level, the top teams still do the same things and
Hmm.
it's good to take each of those serious and understand why you're doing it. Because when you focus on the
Yes.
first touch, then you don't have to stay for 5 hours hitting a ball off the wall like I was doing, or doing a lot of
Yeah.
extra stuff, because you've already put the focus into it in training, and then you
Hmm.
can work on a few things after. But
Mm,
quantity is not better than quality.
love that.
So
Yep.
yeah,
No, and I think going back to what you said at the very beginning of playing your role and really focusing on your position, that's something also I try to do. Like when you're doing basic passing drills with your team, like if you're a center midfielder, like before you get that ball, you try to envision yourself in the middle of the pitch. You know, you look both ways, and you, like you said, you put some intention into that passing drill, and it makes you even more motivated to do it with more quality.
yeah, of course, of course. So I think we both agree completely on that, and it's something I'll do from here on out.
For sure, man. For sure. Your last three, you've given us a lot of great tips, a lot of golden nuggets. Your top three tips for any younger player looking to sign a professional contract, or any other professional player who's kind of in that midst, fell out of contract, looking to get back in. What would they be?
I would say the most important thing is to not give up, be mentally strong, just continue fighting every day because things change so
Yes,
quickly. Um, Stay fit, try to keep yourself as fit as possible.
I like that.
If you're not healthy or you're out of shape, you can't give your best performance. Then the third thing would just be try to listen to those who know more than you, because I
It's
think I've
awesome.
learned so much just from talking with older players or coaches and trying to get as much information from them on how to be the best at. Sorry, I apologize for
No,
that.
no
I don't
worries,
know
brother.
why my
No worries.
Wi-Fi connection's acting up.
No, it's all that's part of the journey, man. It's the
Yeah,
that connection, you know. So, what were we gonna say? That last bit.
yeah. Just the last thing was just listening to those who have more experience than you about positioning, life,
Yes.
etc. Because it really helps having more mature players or players who have been through things that you haven't yet give you
Mm,
insights. I think it helps you to
100%.
grow faster. So
Yeah, no, that's well said, and I think also like personally for me, I always was a type of guy like when I saw a top player, I would see their habits, what they would be doing, before the training, in the training, after the training, and I would even have that, like you said, getting out of your comfort zone, going to talk to them, even if you don't know them, asking for advice. I think that's big, especially as a younger player.
yeah, for sure, without a question.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, taking the time. I wish you the best of luck with everything, man. I see a top career and future ahead of you, especially with your positive mindset and your humbleness, man. So wish you the best of luck.
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate you having me as well.
For
I,
sure, brother.
I, yeah.
We'll chat, man. Have a good one.
Okay, sounds
See you,
good.
brother.